Okay, so, all right, so it is now 4:01. I will call the November 15th, 2021 meeting of the Traffic Authority to order. We have a quorum with Commissioner Fran Collier Clemens and Mayor Rilling. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for the meeting of September 20th, 2021. Do I have a motion? You're on mute. That's all right.
Thank you so much.
That's the new phrase for 2021.
You're on mute.
Yeah.
Okay, I move approval of the minutes of the meeting of September 20th,
Okay,
2021.
Are there any corrections, deletions, omissions?
None that I have.
So all in favor of approving the minutes as submitted?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. We'll need to approve the meeting schedule for the 2022 calendar. Do I have a motion?
I so move.
Okay. Any questions or further discussion?
I have no questions.
Okay, so seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. So next item on the agenda is approve the race route for the 30th annual Norwalk River Fun Run on Saturday, December 11th, 2021. Who's going to speak on this, Mr. Yosak, or motion to?
Move approval.
The item's been moved.
Oh,
And who's going to talk on that, Mr. Yosak?
I can talk on it, Mayor. Basically, this is the run from Veterans Park to the Maritime Aquarium. They've been doing this for a while. It's sponsored by the Parks Department, and that's basically the extent of the race, and it's on December 11th, and they set up at 7 a.m. in the morning. The event starts at 10 a.m. and they're finished by 11 a.m.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
aye.
Aye, motion carries. Next item is the new Norwalk Jingle Bell 5K on Saturday, December 4th. Can I have a motion for moving it forward?
I move approval of the route for New Norwalk Jingle Bell.
And Mr. Yosak, are you going to speak with us as well?
I sure will, Mr. Mayor. Basically, this is a new race that the Parks Department wants to organize. It starts at Calf Pasture Beach Park, and it runs up Calf Pasture Beach Road, down Gregory Boulevard to Gregory Point, and then back again up Gregory and back to Calf Pasture Beach. My understanding is they've been reaching out to the neighborhood to advise them of this event. It will be on a Saturday, December 4th. And again, it's probably like a hour-long race.
Okay,
Approximately, oh, am I on mute? Approximately how many people are they expecting to be in the race?
I don't have those numbers.
So the bottom says the maximum number of 1,000 tickets will be sold. I doubt if we'll get 1,000 people, but that's the maximum they will sell. It doesn't have an estimated number.
Yeah, it's a very new event, so I'm not sure they have anything to go by. Hopefully get a decent turnout.
Okay. Any further questions or discussion?
I have none.
Or do I? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item, route for the RCA Light Up Rowayton on Sunday, November 28th, 2021. Mr. Yosak?
Sure. This event has been happening for years as well. This is the, the annual event in row 8, and they go on row 8 Avenue, McKinley, and back. They also need, once the traffic authority approves this, they also need state approval. They have those permits in.
It's the same as it is every year.
Same as every year. Yes.
Can I have a motion for moving this?
I move that we approve the RCA light up row 8. And
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Now we have item number 6, don't block the box on East Avenue at Olmsted. I know
Excuse
we
me,
have-
Mayor, is there public participation for this meeting tonight? I don't see it on the agenda, but someone
No,
is
it's-
asking,
It's not on the agenda,
but should it
we
be?
normally
Some-
have it.
Should it be? I mean, Mr. Yosak, is this, we left this off by,
That was by accident, Mayor. There
okay,
should be-
well, then I will ask for a motion to go off the agenda to add public participation.
I move that we go off the agenda to add public participation to our agenda, which inadvertently was not added.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Now we'll go into public participation. Mr. Manzi, do we have someone wishing to address the traffic authority?
Yes, we do. We have Diane CC. Diane, if you unmute.
Good evening. I'm not seeing a camera option, so I assume you can't all see me.
We can hear you.
Okay. I would prefer to come on camera, but that's okay. Good afternoon, everyone, staff and mayor and Commissioner Collier Clemens. I wanted to speak to this item. I actually had put a request in yesterday, this weekend, when I saw this item on the agenda for Don't Block the Box at Olmsted and East Avenue, to actually request that the item get tabled. It's ironic in a way because back in 2015, I can say it's like deja vu all over again. This same topic came up and was sprung on all the residents by surprise at that time, in conjunction with the discussions on Don't Block the Box for state approval at the highway and down on North Street. And I have the whole history on this and some emails from 2015 that the mayor and then current DPW staff and Deputy Chief Rinn at that time were all in copy of, that go into detail more on what some of the concerns were. But so I just wanted to give you a little bit of history in justifying asking for this to be tabled, and hopefully this can be moved off until either next month or maybe even January. Because I'm not quite sure how it got on the agenda, except maybe some folks that are new to the neighborhood had been considering options there. But back in 2015, there were a couple of meetings on this, and there were many items that were brought up that made doing Don't Block the Box right at Olmsted and East Avenue challenging. And after all the discussions with all the stakeholders and city officials, it was decided then that it shouldn't be implemented there. And some of the reasons had to do with the complexity of Olmsted in where it lies in terms of the traffic light at exit 16. So each of the possible turns in and out of Olmsted would be troublesome with Don't Block the Box, because one, to make a left turn out of Olmsted onto East Avenue, it was suggested at that time by the then current Public Works Director that the city would go ahead and approve a no left turn out of Olmsted. And of course, that caused a lot of concern here because we live in East Norwalk and we do a lot of our living in East Norwalk. And the alternative to take a right turn and then try to make our way back to East Norwalk just was not feasible, especially since had already been imposed a no left turn onto Hendricks to be able to cut through down by the river. Taking a left turn into Olmsted, I remember part of the discussion had to do with if you had the hash marks there for don't block the box, it would probably give motorists taking a left turn into East Avenue a false sense of safety in terms of assuming that cars were going to stop ahead of that box. And in fact, they don't. And really at the two that exist now, and they certainly don't heed the not so prominent stop here on red. In terms of taking a right turn out of Olmsted, one of the questions came up, and we went back and forth with this with Mr. Yosak and Mr. Alvord, Deputy Wren, and the question became, since part of the part of what was trying to be solved here was to be able to give some relief to Olmsted residents to safely enter and egress from there. A question came up as to, assuming that the cars were stacked at the light to where the box begins and then breaks again south of there. So essentially you have an open, just hash marked box, if you can picture that. Any more than one car coming out of Olmsted, or any of the cars coming out of Olmsted to make a right-hand turn, would essentially be in the box. And so there was a bit of debate over whether or not that in itself would be a violation. And so in terms of trying to assist motorists to be able to come out safely, especially to get into the second lane if they're going onto that highway southbound, the residents here would end up actually violating don't block the box by actually being in that box itself. And so no matter which way people were looking to get on or off the street, it seemed to create a dilemma. The other major point too that was brought up by the police department was that in the case of the exit 16, don't block the box, and what could have been at Olmsted, there's virtually no safe way for police to enforce that, because there's really no place for them to be able to safely pull over a motorist who's in violation, either for that car or not to impede traffic and create another safety hazard inadvertently for other cars that are trying to get through. So even if they could park and observe, say at the corner of Olmsted, at where the church currently is, which is private property, or at the DOT easement at the exit 16 northbound ramp, even if they could observe a violation, I think that they would agree that Chief Gohalik I'm sure would agree with that has been challenging in terms of being able to safely enforce that. And as we've told residents many times in the past, the state of Connecticut doesn't allow for traffic cameras to be used for police and traffic enforcement. It's only for traffic control. So there isn't a mechanism right now from the state that allows us to just, kind of pick off violators and via the camera and then issue citations and tickets and fines for that. So I wanted to try to keep this brief, but again, there's a whole host of reasons of why this probably needs to be revisited. I applaud Mr. Bilella and staff for putting this back on the table. Residents on all sides of this topic have been frustrated by it. Those who live on Olmsted and still don't feel safe getting on and off the street. Those people who are frustrated when they do obey the don't block the box, and then only to be cut off by another car who cuts in front of them. And by those who feel that the existing don't block the box impedes their opportunity to get through seemingly endless red light cycles trying to get to the highway. In conjunction with everything that we did in 2015, I think it's important for those of you who weren't here then to know that we also submitted a list of what we thought were viable alternatives that could be implemented. in lieu of don't block the box, that would really reinforce someone, stopping before the road so that it was clear to everyone that people could pull in and out of there. And some of those things have never been implemented, and the ones that have been implemented just don't suffice. And I think Mr. Bilella pointed it out in his staff memo to you, that the stop here on red and don't block the intersection, essentially where they are, simply are not visible enough. And quite frankly, despite our repeated requests, the city has never maintained the white marking there and the signage in the same way they do at the opposite side of the bridge, where there's don't block the intersection and stop here on red for people coming out of Colony, taking a left-hand turn.
Miss Cece,
So-
can you wrap it up? You're beyond the 3 minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Mr. Manzi. So again, I'm happy to meet with city officials. I suggested in my email to you last night that you table this. I think it's worthy of revisiting because it could still be a viable solution, but we would ask that you go ahead and coordinate a meeting with the Olmsted Knickerbocker residents. I'm happy to coordinate that, or with the greater community at large through my role with the East Norwalk Neighborhood Association. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I thank you for your time.
Who from the city wants to speak on this? Either Mr. Bolella or is Jim Travers with us?
Yeah, he's here as well. I was having some actual technical difficulties, so I'm in his office, but I'm happy to speak to it. And if you don't mind, I'd like to share my screen just so we have the Google Earth aerial in front of us as well.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So I just wanted to start by saying, Mrs. Cece, we appreciate your comments, and I think we recognize that this was an issue in 2015, and it certainly continues to be an issue today. This was actually this request actually arose from a resident, which they cited numerous of the items you identified, but they particularly referenced challenge navigating into and out of the street, cars blocking the intersection, and that the stop here on red signage that is there today isn't quite creating adequate clearance so that people can enter and exit the street. So here you can see East Avenue, Olmsted. I'm just going to drop this person into the street view so you can see what we have out here. But we already do have a do not block the intersection sign controlling the 2 northbound lanes on East Avenue. And then we also have the stop here on red signage today. Again, we recognize that it isn't working. We had the opportunity to conduct several field investigations, and also we were able to view some drone photography of the area so we could see some of the queuing above as we started to look at some of the different feasibility for improvements. I think we've all been in the situation where we think there's going to be sufficient space on the opposite side of the intersection to accommodate us without obstructing the passage of vehicles, for example, on Olmsted. However, it's often just difficult for us to tell where the queue ends on the other side, and we may enter the intersection and block the intersection without the absence of additional markings. Some of the things we know about just transportation and mobility and some of the things that work best are when we have consistency in the street network, and that includes all the signage and pavement markings. To the immediate north, we have the do not block the box intersection markings. We have the signage and subject to fines. So there is a lot of information. However, this intersection is treated a little bit differently. And I think that's one of the reasons that's contributing to queues blocking this intersection. We looked at a number of things, whether it be the federal manual of uniform traffic control devices, whether it's the Connecticut general statutes, or whether it's our own ordinance. But in regards to do not block the intersection, all documentation recommends that in addition to just a sign, do not block the intersection, you really need the pavement markings on the ground so drivers know where the area needs to be clear, the space they have available on the other side of the intersection, and it's been proven to be effective. And then also the inclusion of subject to fine language, giving an additional tool for enforcement. We recognize that the city ordinance would require section 9843 of the code to be updated to include this intersection. And we also recognize that the police department has limited resources to dispatch and maintain at intersections like this. But we really believe that pavement markings will improve compliance, and they've been proven to increase compliance of drivers yielding on the other side, the far side of an intersection, to create gaps. Drivers entering and exiting the intersection will still have to follow all the rules of traffic and have to wait for gaps before they make maneuvers. But we would recommend that this intersection looks similar to other intersections where we have existing do not block the box or do not block intersection signage, and that we incorporate fine signage and then pavement markings as well. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
How did this get brought forth? Did you say a request from a resident?
It was a resident on Olmsted that came in the last month. And they largely echoed both Ms. CC and our department's concerns that it was difficult to get into and out of the street. They particularly referenced buses as well coming to and from the street.
Is there any time sensitivity to this?
We wanted to bring this forward. The reality is, to implement these pavement markings, we're approaching the end of the season. If this was postponed, we would just have to wait till next season to get them installed, since they are temperature dependent for the epoxy to stick to the roadway.
Commissioner Collier-Clemens?
Now, it's proposed that this do not block the intersection is just going to be on the northbound side of East Avenue? Or is it going to be completely across the whole street, north and southbound?
No, we would only propose that it is along the two northbound travel lanes at Olmsted.
Yeah, because I can see some problems, and them, like Diane said, getting out into the street and they're possibly going left, and the cars are queued up coming south from exit 16, and I think it's going to need some more discussion with the residents and the traffic department.
Chief Kaholic or deputy chiefs? Do you have any comments on this?
Well, it appears that it's already marked. It's just a question of whether they're going to mark the markings on the road.
Yeah, it's already signed today. It just doesn't have the complementary markings, in which that's.
So I think it's just a question of whether we want to go ahead and put the markings on the road. I will agree that enforcement is difficult for the reasons that Ms. Cece mentioned. It's tough to find a spot and then to be able to pull somebody over to get them out of traffic. But that's the case now too. If we were going to try to enforce the stop here bar that's in front of Olmsted. But I can understand the concern about moving forward without further discussion.
And if there's no time sensitivity on this, I mean, it would mean, obviously, if the weather's turning colder, you'd probably have to wait until March or so before we could probably implement, if we're going to end up putting the road markings down.
Yeah, we'll likely miss this season. The weather's quickly becoming too cold, and the roadway surface too cold as well.
I would like to maybe have you reach out to the residents on Olmsted and Knickerbocker, just to kind of let them know what you're proposing, and the fact is, and ask for their comments or concerns as well.
Yeah, we're certainly more than happy to reach out to the residents. We just wanted to be responsive, given that we had just had a request.
Mr. Bilello, the signage for stop here, when was that installed?
It was several years ago. I don't have the exact date on hand.
Do we have any data on how effective it is?
Well, I think what we're seeing, based on just some of the photographs we received from a resident on that road, and then also observations, that it really isn't effective. And that's why we would propose to put it across the northbound direction, because that's largely where the congestion is today. But it only takes one lane of traffic to effectively stop anyone from entering and exiting that street.
Okay.
I wish there was more we could do at the exit 16, the traffic signal signage, when you get to the entrance ramp of 16 going south and the exit going coming from the north. the cars back right up into the intersection. So cars getting off at exit 16, as you see the black pickup truck there, oftentimes get blocked. I travel this road quite a bit. Just for the record, I always stop at the do not block the directions or the intersection sign. And it's a mixed bag. A lot of times I see people stopped and leaving the intersection completely open. Other times I don't. So if we can get a motion maybe to table it and until we have some further discussion on it, maybe look at something that might be more effective. So if I can get a motion on that, if you're so inclined, Commissioner.
I move to table item number 6 for further discussion and place it on the agenda note in next month's meeting,
Okay.
if that will give Public Works enough time.
TMP. would
mean,
that give you
traffic.
enough time?
Traffic.
Yeah, we'll look to coordinate with the residents of Olmsted and get a meeting set up within the next few weeks to just discuss the proposed improvements and feasibility of different options.
So a motion to table is not debatable. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion tabled. Next meeting is Monday, December 20th, 2021 at 4 p.m. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
Move to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we are adjourned. Thank you. And we will jump right over to the Police Commission meeting if I can get the Zoom thing up. So thank you.
Thank you.